Hi, this is Langerman from Violinna.live, helping you along your musical journey. In this video, I'll go over 5 ways you can practice intonation, and we're going to start with the most basic one, which is to use notes that match open strings. This is better when you play something in a friendly key. So, notes that match open strings, perfect intervals, especially when you do string crossings, and also finding moments when you can add double stops to your piece, even if there are no double stops in the music written in. So let's take, for example, the Presto from Bach's G minor sonata. So just this opening, all just G minor chord basically. How to practice intonation here. Very friendly key, G minor. There are a lot of notes that match our open strings. So we'll start with D. Actually, the third finger. The third finger is very important, especially in this situation, because not only does it match the open D string for this note, but also it balances the hand frame. And that's another thing we'll talk about in another tip here. But first we balance the hand frame with this note and get it in tune, and then we have this perfect interval. So right now it's ringing, but if it was a little out of tune, for example, you might hear that one's out of tune, and my G is a little too low. So I'm going to listen for the resonance, the overtones when the instrument responds. Also, by the way, this G, you can also check. And if you look really closely at the open G string while you play this note, you might see it vibrate a little bit. So you can actually practice by setting this fourth down before you even begin. And before I start playing, I'll just hover that third finger over where it needs to go. So another opportunity for a double stop here. There's another G. Because I'm doing arpeggio, I can check the third. Now here we have another chord. Tritone. So here, C and G. So you want to make sure that the second finger here doesn't do this by accident, right? So that's one way to do it. What if I took a more difficult example? For example, the second movement of Mozart 39. It's actually it starts in A flat major. So how would I tune this? Because it has 4 flats. So first of all, I know I cannot tune that E flat to any open string. However, I have a few clues here. So for example, I still have that G, that's still within that first phrase. Now, the G also serves as a leading tone. It serves as the leading tone to the A flat, which is the tonic key. So if I think in melodic tuning, I have a video about tuning systems. If I think Pythagorean tuning system, and imagine this, the leading tone leading up to the A flat, creating a pretty tight half step there. So there's my A flat, that's my home key. I'm going to now play an octave Okay, now the phrase begins on an E flat, and the E flat is a fifth away from this. So once again, tune the G first, the leading tone, then the tonic. So hear it melodically. Play the octave, and then I find that G again. And very important that here those A flats they match. It's very tricky. And then here these two notes half steps. And I'm back to that E flat. So that's how I would tune something like this. Second way to practice intonation. This is specifically for things that are in the high register. If you have little half steps going on and you can't find that frame, it's hard to find it. There are two ways you can practice that actually, and so this will be tip 2 and 3. So the first one, it has to do with just getting used to playing up there, and you can make up your own melody essentially. You can even pick something very simple. Let's say I'm playing Mary Had a Little Lamb in first position. I'll do it in like F sharp major or something. And I'll transpose this one octave higher. So I am looking for the exact same or you could make up anything. So this is exercise, if you make melodies up, you want to kind of keep them within a perfect fourth range, because the idea is you're practicing transferring the hand frame from first position an octave higher. You can also do this in other keys. So let's say I'm in third position. So for example, theme from Brahms 1 finale in D major. I'll do it. I know it's in C major in the symphony. Now here it's very, very, very high. So I have to do it slowly and really, really try to transpose it. Very tricky. The hand has to do some interesting maneuvers to get those half steps in because they don't exactly fit. I will have a separate video on this topic coming up soon, and I will put it down in the description below when it comes out. Third way to practice intonation, and this is for difficult passages that are in a high register already, and it's difficult to get them in tune. So here's an example. So from Mozart's Fourth Concerto, there is a difficult passage towards the very end of the exposition. That one. And now, luckily it starts on an E natural, and you can use the harmonic to kind of cheat, but we don't want to do that. In any case, it's not the easiest thing to play in tune. So this is a good one to practice playing an octave lower. And you can even start on open E. And then use our second strategy from earlier. So it's like reverse engineer. And from our first strategy, use that open A. And now the fourth way to practice intonation, I'll use the same example because it happens to be in A major, this section, is to use a drone. I can use the open A actually to practice this. So you can find the best hand frame just by tuning the E to the A. practice going back up. And I add the trills back in after. So already, just on this passage, I used 3 of my strategies. By the way, the drone doesn't necessarily need to be on tonic like it just was here. You could also put it on the dominant. So for example, at the beginning of the same concerto, it starts in D major, which is a home key. So for example, here, you can still use the drone A because it's the dominant. And then the next, later, the next passage, you can do it also. By the way, if you're getting any value from this video so far, please give it a quick thumbs up down below to help support this channel and so that YouTube is more likely to share it with other folks who could use help and guidance on this topic. A 5th way to practice intonation, and that is to organize your hand frames by position. So often we have melodic lyrical passages up on one string, but sometimes the hand gets a little disorganized. So a perfect example, the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto. So even if you plan to do an extension up to the high G, I would still practice it with organizing the hand by positions. Take out the vibrato and anything else. Make sure the first finger is on the B. First finger will go to D. So you're in 6th position. Sixth position, now 5th. And then extend down to 4th. So for practical reasons, I would first practice it like this. 2nd position, 4th position, 6th position. Of course, many players at the end keep the first finger down here and extend up, because it's easier to connect it melodically, but I would still first organize it by hand frame, and really, that way you really know where those notes live on the fingerboard, and you also have the half steps planned out, and you have the hand shapes planned out. So for those of you who made it this far in the video, here are 3 bonuses. I usually just give 1 bonus, but I'm going to give you 3 bonuses. The first one has to do with what I just said, and it has to do with the hand shapes. And I talked about this in an earlier video of mine. I was talking about quick passages, also in Mendelssohn and in other concertos. To plan ahead which hand shape you need to use in which position and where. The second tip is to get a pianist or find a recording of like Music -1 recording of piano accompaniment, or even maybe play along with an existing recording, like a model recording, a study recording. Sometimes just hearing the accompaniment or the orchestra part, because playing with a recording or actually playing with somebody, which is even better, it will help to not only get you more in tune, because your ear will latch on, hopefully your ear will latch on to the harmony, and it'll help your fingers find where they need to go. But at the same time, you're going to also be taking care of things like phrasing and rhythm and understanding the texture behind it. And the third and the most important tip is to sing. As Leon Fleisher said, hear before you play. I think that's super, super important. You gotta imagine what that note sounds like first before you play it. You could practice shifting 10 million times. You could practice those shifts for years. You could practice double stops for years. But if you don't know what you're after, if you don't know what you want them to sound like, what they're supposed to sound like, what's the point? It's not going to help. So I'd rather you hear it a few times first. Hear it 3 or 5 times and then play it once. That's already better than just playing mindlessly many times and hoping for the best. Because a lot of times our mind and our fingers, we're training them to be connected to each other. In the moment when we're playing the music, we're gonna have to pre-hear pretty much everything that we do. And by hearing and then playing the note, we are teaching our fingers to be correlated. The muscle memory gets correlated with the way we hear it. And that's super, super important. All right, so I guess that was 8 tips in total. So as always, let me know your biggest takeaway in the comment section below. Let me know what you're working on. By the way, I do have a free newsletter. It's basically a summary of all my content, but on occasion I will share some exclusive material that I never share here on YouTube or in my blog. Links down in the description below. And when you sign up as a gift, you'll get a practice plan template PDF. Till next time, happy practicing.